AI-powered deepfakes fuel extortion wave in Vietnam. We've talked about some of the deepfake scams that are out there. For example, we went over an article on the Daily Tech News stream. I can't remember how long ago now, maximum 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because that's how long I've been doing it. And we saw how scammers will put a deepfake AI face over their own face during video interviews for programming jobs in companies that have a lot of different security clearances or data that scammers would really like to get access to. This is a whole other level. This is a disgusting, pathetic, bottom of the barrel. Like, I might genuinely hate you if you're a cult member AI hypus, because there is real harm. Leveraging AI deepfakes, cyber criminals in Vietnam are crafting fake videos to extort victims for hefty ransoms. Cyber criminals in Vietnam are using AI to create realistic deepfake videos for extortion, marking a shift from traditional fraud tactics like phone scams, phishing emails, and romantic trickery. Scammers harvest personal data taken from social media platforms and leaks, and the unfortunate victims then have their faces imposed on explicit videos. Victims are coerced into paying hefty amounts to prevent such videos from being released publicly or to family, friends, and employers. The criminals don't always leave it there. Often, a chain of subsequent payments is asked for, resulting in the sufferer being caught in a blackmail loop. So, notable instances include a high school girl in March 2024 who received a threat to publish an X-rated video featuring her face. The scammers demanded a $2,000 ransom from the girl, who had to borrow money from friends and family. Luckily, the offenders were caught by police. However, in a lot of cases, victims are quite reluctant to report such crimes out of fear of ruining their reputations. They fear that by getting the police involved, the humiliation could escalate when their standing in society is ultimately compromised, as losing face in Vietnamese culture is considered to be a rock-bottom situation. This reluctance to operate allows the cyber criminals to operate more freely, thus casting their net wider and becoming more sophisticated in their tactics. In early 2024, fraudsters targeted celebrities and top-tier entrepreneurs to humiliate them, but now it appears that the public is at increased risk of being manipulated. Police are urging the public to use more sophisticated passwords, limit personal information sharing online, and report any suspicious activity immediately. I just want you to picture for a second that that's your daughter. And maybe she didn't tell you because she was too embarrassed. Or maybe you didn't actually know how to deal with it because you're not in the tech industry, so you're not in the know about how these things operate and what kind of damage could be done. So you have like a preset series of notions, right? Now, I want you to expand on this, and I want you to really, really think about how you could make money doing this if you are a sick and twisted individual. Imagine that there's somebody out there who doesn't know how to operate in this space. They're not in the know like you and I are, are hopefully in the know enough to not be caught by these kinds of things, but they're not. There's a huge amount of pressure and embarrassment. You go to them, you have taken over their lives. Essentially, maybe you've taken their life savings, whatever it might be. Maybe you have a series of videos that they could be faked out by AI. Maybe they're real videos that you got access to through a security, bypass or something like this. Essentially, you have a means of coercing them to do almost anything you want. And all it takes is one person who doesn't know how to deal with that. And then you ask them to do something like digitally record inappropriate acts. And now imagine that they're not even an adult. And then imagine you have a series of buyers who are willing to pay top price for that kind of data. Let's put it that way. People's lives are being ruined. Literally being ruined. Very few of us seem to actually care. We live in these microcosms, or our own world is another way to put it. And we essentially just think about how our work, how what we do in our company, how our management decisions or how our executive decisions or how our programming decisions affect us, our family, and our colleagues. That's a pretty small circle. Very few of us think about the fact that the things we create, they might seem small when you just have that particular view. And fortunately, most of the time, they probably are that small. Unfortunately, some of the time, the stuff you and I work on has a far broader impact. And you never know who's going to be affected by that impact. Like a high school girl in Vietnam. You never know when the person who is affected by the choices you made in this industry is someone you love and care about. When their entire financial infrastructure is wiped in a day. When their entire social infrastructure is wiped in a day. When their decency and dignity is sold in a day. So just take a minute and really think about that. This isn't to paralyze you with fear or to cause some kind of like, you shouldn't get anything done because you have to question everything you're doing. But it honestly would not take a lot of effort to greatly diminish the prevalence of these kinds of issues. Just a little bit more effort by programmers to understand fundamentals and be able to ask and answer some questions like, why am I doing things this way? Who told me? Why is this abstraction the right fit, or why isn't it the right fit? Programming languages, whatever it is, just more fundamentals. Just have a little bit more concern for the craft. It's not like a lot, 10 or 20% more than you have now would go a long way. Managers, when you're intermediating between developers and executives, ask the same questions. Do we really need these features? What kind of timelines are we constraining our developers under, which means that they're going to have to make certain decisions that are out of their hands? Executives, if you are worried about money, shareholders, VC funding, exits, etc., your customers care about this stuff. And they're willing to pay more if you can take a little bit of time up front and just like 10 or 20% more effort on giving your company a bit of breathing room to write more reliable, more secure, more performant code. It honestly, it's within reach and it's so easy. If you're an AI hypist, okay, yeah, AI has its uses. Just be careful about how much you hype it up. At least point people to some of the negatives. At least give people positive scenarios of AI and negative scenarios of AI. Don't do the doom preaching and the black pilling, use AI, otherwise you're going to get left behind. All in on AI, full funding on AI, pedal to the metal on AI. Just don't think about anything else. 90% of code, 90% of developers will be replaced by AI. All that kind of stuff is extremely irresponsible.